Turbulent flows generally exhibit spatial and temporal physics that are high-dimensional with rotational and translational interpreted structures. Such data provides an opportunity for data-driven approaches to make an impact in the modeling and analysis of such flows. Good morning, sir. I'm Ritvik Pandey, and today I'll be presenting my BTech project titled Data-Driven Fluid Dynamics in Connection to Aeroelastic Flutter. The field of fluid mechanics is rapidly advancing, driven by unprecedented volumes of data from field measurements, experiments, and large-scale simulations at multiple spatiotemporal scales. Machine learning offers a wealth of techniques to extract information from the data that could be translated into knowledge about the underlying fluid mechanics principles. We would start this presentation with various scenarios which our solution might be able to address. Then I would explain the constraints and the method we opted for our solution. I would then demonstrate our solution on the example problem statement of an oscillating cylinder. Finally, I would move on to a more complex problem of oscillating airfoil and do its in-depth analysis. This would be followed by an easy-to-use demonstration of our solution. I would conclude with a mention of several novel features of this approach. As there couldn't be any questioning session this time, I've tried to answer several interesting questions at the end. In the first scenario, a researcher wants to explore how the detachment of vortices leads to sudden lift jumps, but he has not saved the data for those precise time steps when it happens. As we can see in the picture below, from our 200 GB of simulation data, we have field data for time steps 2.1 and 2.2 seconds, but any data between those time steps is lost. So we would not be able to record any lift jumps between those times. This problem is currently dealt by simulating again from the previous time step. It is important to note that even 1 second of this simulation takes close to 4 hours in real time. Even if we decide to simulate, it is harder to pinpoint where exactly this jump happens. In the end, it ends up costing us in time and useful resources. I'll now discuss our second scenario. During an experimental fluid dynamics study and benchmarking, the corresponding CFD simulation is carried and errors are reported. However, due to noise and imperfection in setup, we could not generate accurate flow fields from the probe readings. So what is the issue with it? To get the flow field values at continuous points in the domain, we need to carry out a direct numerical simulation which matches with the probe reading data. It is very hard to model the exact boundary conditions due to setup imperfections. Noise further corrupts our data to match with the simulation values. Finally, we have to accept the summation of these errors in the simulation result. As a third scenario, I am an early student and have recently read about Navier-Stokes equation and elasticity of materials. I wonder how exactly an elastic material and fluid affect each other. I need to try different shapes and elasticity values myself to get a better understanding. So where am I facing the problem? To carry out these simulations, one requires access to high-end computation and large storage spaces. This, of course, is not accessible to many. Further study is also deviated towards theoretical part only. I am now moving ahead with explaining the principles behind our approach. At any given instant of time, we have spatial spread of u, v, and p fields. For a 2D problem, spatial dimensions are x and y coordinates, and the successive time steps are arranged like slices. The gap between these slices is the lost data, which is resultant of trade-off between data density and storage space. A sufficiently large number of time steps give another dimension of time to our data. Any point in this whole dataset consists of 6 unique properties, which are x and y coordinates of the point, time step of the point, and UVP field values at that point. The flow fields can be assumed to be a complex function of space and time coordinates. This complex mapping function is estimated using deep neural network. To model any such function, we have few considerations to make. The first one being the conservation principles of fluid mechanics, both mass and momentum. The corresponding equations are as follows for a two-dimensional system. Second consideration is the structural mechanics and boundary conditions of the elastic body. However, these are not trivial to estimate. They often require continuum mechanics. They are in form of some partial differential equations that needs to be solved. Further, increasing the resolution complicates the problem in several manifolds. In our solution, we have incorporated conservation equations of fluid mechanics in loss function, which means that we do not only try to closely match the data, but also to minimize any deviation from the governing equations. On the other hand, the structural and boundary conditions are learned by showing large number of data points, which consists of elastic amplitude and resulting flow feature. The neural network has architecture as shown. Firstly, we have time, x and y coordinate as input. Then we have several layers of nodes which perform the desired computation for us. Finally, we get our outputs, which are oscillation amplitude denoted by eta and u, v and p field values. To calculate the partial derivative of our outputs with respect to inputs, we use the technique of automatic differentiation, which is similar to the chain rule in calculus. These partial derivatives are used to calculate Navier-Stokes Bayes loss function. I would now like to show you the simulation of our first problem statement, which is a 2D cylinder oscillating in a free stream flow. The diameter-based Reynolds number for this simulation was 1000, and the domain was chosen to be 70d in x direction and 40d in y direction, where d represents the cylinder's diameter. In this diagram, I represent how the collected data points look at a time step of t is equals to 2 seconds. Please note that more number of points are taken close to the cylinder to better capture the boundary equations. This is how collection of all such time steps look like. We have also shifted our frame of reference to center of mass of the cylinder to eliminate any effects of cylinder replacing the fluid at a given coordinate value. Finally, we tried to solve our first problem of oscillating cylinder by training our network with its simulation data. These are U and V field values we got from our CFD simulation. After training our network, these are the results we obtained. We are able to reproduce the U field with almost no visible difference, and the same is true for V fields too. Not only that, but we are able to reproduce the data for time steps we had no knowledge about. More on this would be discussed in our next problem. Various key points can be noted about our solution. The first one being reduction in storage space. Here we were able to compress 12 GB of data to just 230 MB of model parameters. The second one being a regressive method to approximate close to real flows at intermediate and even near future times. The final key point is the speed of this algorithm, where we can generate the flow at any new time step in just a fraction of a minute, when conventional methods could have taken us hours. Sure, these cylinders are fundamental fluid mechanics problems, but will my network work on industry problems? Wings of aircraft which are in the shape of airfoil impose such a problem. Let's see if our method works on them. Here I show you the simulation videos of both the problems side by side so as to compare their complexities. Firstly, the geometry of cylinder is symmetric, whereas NACA 3412 belongs to asymmetric family of airfoils. Secondly, the airfoil has much higher frequency of oscillation and thus generate more turbulent regime around the vortices. The elasticity is modeled as a simple arrangement of airfoil attached with a spring in a free stream. The setup is arranged as follows. The vertical motion is restrained by a spring having a stiffness denoted by Ky. The airfoil has a constant angle of attack denoted by alpha. Mass of the airfoil is m and chord length is c. Elastic axis is located at a distance of c by 4 from the mid-chord axis. The structural parameters chosen for this problem have been taken from a commendable benchmarking paper on airfoil in a wind tunnel. The link has been attached. Here I again show the zoom simulation of the airfoil. It is interesting to see that the vortices detaching are not perfectly in the flow direction, but at a certain angle. This is a trait of asymmetric geometries. The computational domain for our simulation looks as shown. The solver used is OpenFOAM, and the boundary conditions are slip on top and bottom and empty on front and back surfaces. The flow parameters are as follows. The inlet velocity is kept at 1 meter per second. The dynamic viscosity is kept at 10 to the power minus 3. The density of the fluid is kept at 1 kg per meter cube. The Reynolds number, which is now chord based, is still kept at 1000. The grid meshing is done in 3 stages, which has resolution as mentioned. Just like the previous problem, to simplify the mapping function, we change our references to center of mass of airfoil and predict amplitude separately. At any given time step, the data slice looks something like this on the right. Finally, we now train our neural network model with the airfoil simulation data. The first output of our model is the prediction of oscillation amplitude denoted by eta. The blue dots show the data we had for training, and the green lines show the prediction. We are able to predict the amplitudes with less than 2% error for the data we had and also to previously unseen time steps. Here is a short summary of our findings. More error in the start and end is a signature of regression model, and hence the solution is proven to be regressed and not interpolated one. We even tried to calculate the lift and drag forces by creating a control volume close to the airfoil. The formula for same have been taken from a JFM article by Karthik Menon et al. As we can see, our model is able to match lift and drag values very close to the real values, except for the very end part when we try to predict farther into the future. I now gladly present you the results. The RMSE or the root mean square error for all the training data is below 6%. Here I show you the exact U field from our simulation data, and this is the U field predicted by our model. To show how closely we have matched with the data, here is the difference of predicted and learned field values. Green area represents close to zero error. Similarly, this is the exact V field from the simulation data, and here is the predicted V field by the model. Again, the error is plotted in the third column, where the green area represents close to zero errors. Finally, this is the pressure field from the simulation, and this is the pressure field predicted by our model. The error in pressure values is slightly more than that of U and V fields, but still stays below 6%. To further make my work accessible, I have created an easy to use demonstration for which the link has been mentioned. We just need to scroll to select the time and a complete plot of simulation data, prediction and error is generated within a couple of seconds. The prediction of flows are made on the run. This shows how fast our solution is as compared to traditional approach. I would now like to cover the most awaited feature of our model, the ability to predict flows at future times. We have trained our model from time of 1 to 3 seconds only, and we can extend till 3.2 seconds of time while keeping the errors below 10%. These are the plots of how L1 error varies with time. We can already see that the error seems to gradually rise as we move past 3 seconds and try to predict future time steps. I would now like to explain the novel features of our solution. The first one being its ingenuity. Even the idea of using data to approximate the boundary equations and minimize the simulation error is novel in itself. The second dimension being what improvements can it bring to the table for current field. It can help us get rid of the hit and trial methods and wastage of storage space. The third dimension being how convenient is it to use this solution. The method requires very minimal computational cost to train and deploy. This makes it even possible to introduce fluid structure interactions to early students without requiring high-end computers. The fourth dimension being how our solution can help scalability. Although age-old methods of simulation are reliable, but there are cases when this trade-off choice could be made to favor the faster methods. This allows us to speed up our debug and checking while doing any multi-parameter study. Finally, I would like to summarize in few bullet points. Firstly, neural networks could be of help to solve inverse Navier-Stokes problem in data-driven approach. These networks are somehow able to understand complex boundary equations when sufficiently large number of data points are shown. This method has redundancy to noise in data collected and filter outliers to get near to real flow recreation. It is flexible to be used to extend the time range of simulations to a certain extent. Finally, they reduce dependency on high-end computers for basics of tasks like getting lift and drag on an object at any given time. As we cannot have a question answering session this time, I would like to address some questions myself. The first one is this model just a database to store flow data in smaller space? It is much more than that. Being able to regress intermediate data and predicting future time steps cannot be done by mere interpolatory methods. It sure might be a useful tool for the future, but how exactly it is going to benefit the research already in progress? It can do so in two ways. The experiments could be modeled better, and the simulations, on the other hand, can save upon exploration times. So, can we replace simulations? Definitely not. This approach is still in early stage and begins to struggle as flow becomes more turbulent. Also, we tried to build it for two cases as shown. It is still not a general answer, but a case-specific solution as of now. I would like to end with a note from one of my reference material. Machine learning provides a powerful information processing framework that can enrich and possibly even transform current lines of fluid mechanics research and industrial applications. I am positive that my work, even in this early stage, can help me grow more and understand fluid mechanics in a better way. I cannot conclude my work without thanking my mentor and supervisor Raja sir for being a constant support all along. Thanking you, sir. I would be delighted if I could answer a few questions related to my work.